Hi everyone, I'm back with another video on the topic of Python tips and tricks, and in this one I'm going to talk about how you can properly label your images for semantic segmentation. And that one I'm going to focus on using Label Studio as the tool that we're going to use for this labeling. And I'm doing this video because many of you exactly asked for this, how to generate ground truth labels for your semantic segmentation purposes using your own images, because you're tired of working with public data sets and at some point you want to work with data that you have in your hands. So let's jump in, and I am going to talk about how you can install this Label Studio via Python, of course, and how to get started. And a couple of notes in case you already don't know. First thing, labels are generated by subject matter experts. If you are labeling roads and people, most of us are subject matter experts because we know how a road should look like in a satellite image and so on. If you are trying to label biological images, you need to know how mitochondria looks like, how different organelles look like in your images, or if you're working on a geological samples, you should know how clay looks different from hard minerals versus soft minerals and so on, right? So you got the point. So it is by a subject matter expert. So do not just share your data with anyone who is offering labeling services, because then you are going to spend a lot of time trying to explain to them exactly what different labels are. But for certain tasks, it may be easy for anyone to be an expert. And labels, why are we doing this? Because they provide ground truth information for the supervised machine learning. So when you're doing your segmentation, for example, using UNet or using mask or CNN or any other approach, these are all supervised machine learning algorithms that require ground truth information along with your original images. And this is exactly what we are trying to generate using these labeling or annotation tools. Now, one other thing that I want to remind you is these label values for a given class, they must be unique. If you have a tissue with mitochondria, the tissue pixels should all have a value, for example, of 0, and the mitochondria should have a value of 1 or 255, whatever it is, but every pixel corresponding to mitochondria should have a unique value. For semantic segmentation. For instant segmentation, they still have unique value, but each object has different values for instant segmentation. For now, I'm going to focus on semantic segmentation. Please be aware that when you are saving your labeled images, whether you use Label Studio or any other technique, when you paint your images, when you save them, that they're saved as a binary and they're not actually interpolating between these regions. What do I mean by that? Well, let's say you have an image that looks like this, which is exactly what we're going to use as part of this exercise. This is the original input image, and you go ahead and you paint your pixels, right? So this is what you do. You paint all the roads in red, and you paint houses in green, and you paint something else in some other color, and eventually you would like to export them. So you go ahead and hit the export, and you get a labeled image that looks like this. This is what you're trying to use as part of your machine learning or deep learning pipelines. Now, when you zoom into this little region, if the image looks like this, where you have a instead of having a hard edge, you have like other grayscales, this is the wrong labels, because you have a value of 255 in here. But then around these regions, it's kind of interpolating between your dark area and the bright. This often happens when you save your images as PNGs and other formats. And also if the toolkit has like a bug where they haven't focused on not interpolating this using some sort of a bicubic. I mean, whatever the tool that you're using, they have to make sure that when you save these as NumPy arrays or images, that this interpolation is disabled. But by default, unfortunately, this will be enabled. So please make sure that this is not the case. If that is the case, I'll show you how to take care of that as part of this tutorial anyhow. How should this look like? This should look like this. On one side, I have my road, pixels corresponding to the road. On the other side, I have pixels corresponding to not road. So you should always have this hard edge. That's just one caveat. And with that, let's go ahead and jump into our code. In fact, let's go through the process of getting Label Studio ready and then annotate a few images and then take care of any issues that may occur with these images. So I hope you'll continue this video. So let's go ahead and jump in. Okay, first, just to show you a couple of places where you can get your hands on to these annotation tools, I am going to focus in this video on the Label Studio because it's free and I have been using it on my system for a couple of months already. And I haven't explored every little bit of this because it can do a lot. If you are from enterprise, if you're from a place where you have multiple users, you may benefit from their paid version because then you can have like different users and working on the same data sets and so on. But I'm going to show you the core of what Label Studio can do as a personal researcher or a personal individual user, without any collaboration capabilities. That's the goal for today. If you can pay, I mean, this is another label boxes, I think is something that you may have already heard. And this has a paid version. I'm not sure if it has a free version. I have no experience with this, but I just want to highlight that this is another tool that people often use, obviously as part of your biological image, but any of these other tasks. So let's go back to Label Studio. And if you are not just interested in image analysis, but if you're interested in some other applications, this can do pretty much everything. So you see, you can do semantic segmentation, labeling, you can do labeling for object detection and image classification, and you can also work with audio files where you annotate your audio files, and of course for natural language processing you can also use this, and time series and other examples. And they walk you through by giving you right examples once you log in. So that's what I appreciate with this software. So let's go ahead and see how we can get it into our system, so we can go ahead and get started with it. So it's as simple as pip install and then launching it. But a couple of points before we get there. So to do that, I mean, I added all of that information as part of this Python file that I'm going to share with you. So don't worry about writing anything down as you're watching this video. So first thing first, to get Label Studio, we need to pip install. I usually do not try to install in my main environment. I create a new environment. So let's go ahead and do that. And you can use Windows command prompt, but since I have Anaconda already installed, I am going to open Anaconda prompt right there, and I'm going to work from here. Okay, so from now on, just keep an eye on this screen only. Let me zoom in digitally in post recording. So let's start with, first of all, what environments do I have? And some of this is probably pretty basic for you, but it's worth going through this. Conda and list gives us what environments we already have. And I should have a couple. You should see Label Studio as an environment right there because I was testing it out. And this is, in fact, the environment that I work with. So let's go ahead and create one. So I'm going to copy this instead of typing the whole thing. And let's go ahead and paste it here, and let's give this some name. So let's call this tutorial. There you go. So normally when you create an environment, you just do conda create name and then whatever the name that you want to give. I'm adding pip because as soon as I create the environment, I want to be able to use pip to start installing the packages, especially obviously Label Studio. So let's go ahead and run this. It should take it shouldn't take that long. Let's see how long it takes. It should ask me whether yes or no question. There you go. Let's continue. And I'll pause the video for a few seconds. This shouldn't take that long anyway. And as soon as I said that, it's done. Creating an environment. In fact, it should take a little while, like maybe a minute or so when I do the pip install. So let's go ahead and first of all change the environment from our base to the one that we just created. So go ahead and do conda activate. And what are we trying to activate? We called it tutorial, right? So let's go ahead and do tutorial. So now that we are in the right environment, let's go ahead and do pip installation. So it is pip install. Let me copy that. Okay, there you go. Pip install Label Studio. This is where I'll pause the video for, I don't know, 1 minute or so, and I'll continue that. Okay, so there you go. It's finally done, and let's clear the screen. And all we need to do to start Label Studio is just type Label Studio. And it should open up a browser and it should go directly to this page. And if not, go ahead and open a browser and type this in the browser. So for now, let's go ahead and see if it's going to open. So for me, my default is Microsoft Edge browser, and allow access. And there you go. You'll see a couple of tests that I was doing, but in your case, you should see a different screen where it's like a welcome screen. Hey, you have no projects. Go ahead and start a new project. And let's go right there. So I have my projects right here, and let's go ahead and create a new project. And this is the type of screen that you should see when you first log in. And it's pretty intuitive. You can just say, okay, my segmentation tutorial. Yeah, so, and you can add some description to keep track of your project. And once you give it a name, go ahead and import data. So for now, let's, in fact, we should have talked about data while it was installing. So I have just these 3 images, and I would like to annotate and save the annotations to my labels as PNG. I will also show you what happens when you save labels as NumPy, just so you know how it looks like. Obviously, that would be NumPy arrays. So let us go ahead and load these 3 images. So I'm going to click and drag. It should be pretty fast because I'm not uploading them to some cloud location. They're like right on my drive. So this is not a some cloud location. This is your local host on your system itself. Okay, so now that I have this, let's go ahead and set up our labeling scheme. How do we want to label these images? So here, let us first, it walks you through. This is what I like about this Label Studio. So I'm in computer vision, but if you are doing some other task, go ahead and select that, whether you're annotating videos or time series. But let's stick with computer vision. And within computer vision, these are the different ways you can label. And probably the most common formats I would think of is the first 2. And I am a big fan of the second one. This is what I normally use, where I have a paintbrush and you just brush around the object that you are trying to label. So let's go ahead and select that. And it labels, of course, is loading a test image, and you have these 2 classes. So the first thing first, let me delete both of those and add my own label. So in my case, I have houses and roads. And let's also do water. Okay, so these are the 3 classes. In fact, in my code later on, I think these are the classes so let's do that. Why is it important? Because I've written this code to go through post labeling, handling of data. So I just don't want to miss too many things here. Okay, so houses, roads, and water are the 3 things that I would like to annotate. And if you want, you can change the color, for example, of my water right there, and houses I can give a different color. Let's give it a green color, and allow zoom using Control+wheel. I like to zoom into images when I'm annotating, so why not enable that? That's enabled by default anyway. I think that's good. You can go back and browse the templates and everything, but this is a good start. Now let's go ahead and save it and go to our images. Okay, so let's start picking. Let's look at the first one. Yeah, that's not, this is the one I showed you earlier anyway. So let's go ahead and start annotating. Initially, when I downloaded this, I started annotating like painting. I'm like, I don't know what that is. It's not painting. If you scroll down, you can see the classes, and you need to select one. So let's go ahead and select one, roads right there. And I'm zooming in. So I'm using Control and the wheel. And this is where you can control the size of the brush. So right now the brush size is that big, and if you want it to be smaller, you can do it that way. Yeah, so this is how you control. So let's actually do, obviously in your case you should be more careful. I'm just showing you, especially near the edges. Yeah, so normally when I annotate, this is how I do it. In fact, I go all the way down in size and make sure I get the edges perfect. So you can go like 1 up, and you can make sure the edges are perfect. Yeah, but for now, let's be a bit sloppy because I want to show you the philosophy behind this and not much focus on the accuracy of my, although the title of my video is how to do this properly. I'm telling you how not to do it properly and then how to do it properly later. Okay, let's go ahead and do this for now. Okay, so that's good enough. In fact, let's do that. Let's do this. Okay, And once I'm done, this also may be a road. Let's go ahead and paint that. So I'm done with that. So I'm going to go ahead and for now, let's go ahead and submit this. And it initiates the process. Now I'm going to just change this to houses, and let's select a few houses right there. This is where I need to make sure the pen is not that big. And oh, that is pretty big, but okay. Fine. I just want to show you the process anyway. So here is the annotations that I have for my houses. And oops, wrong way. And let's get back. Let me zoom out and do this. Obviously, do not do this. Yeah, make sure you spend a good enough time in annotating these images. Use polygons if you want to use polygons, because that gives you much more control in annotating these images. You can adjust the polygon, pretty close by and so on. Anyway, so let's do that, and that's enough for now. Let's update it, and right now let's do water. Do we have any water anywhere? I don't know. This is probably water, so let's go ahead and select water and paint this. Yeah, so we just have like one area that is water, and we are fine. I'm done with this image, and now you can go to other images and do exactly the same. Okay, so let's leave it right here. Now you get the point. You can go to other images and you continue doing this. And what do you do after you're done? There are advanced things that you can do. You can connect your, take the API from here, connect it to yours. I think you have to pay for that. Normally, my workflow is just downloading these. So once I'm done with this, I just go to export and I export them. So first, let's go ahead and export them as the labels to PNG. So export. And there are various formats, of course, Cocoa format, for example, depending on if you're doing object segmentation, that can be a good way. And CSV and TSV and JSON files. So it's up to you what you want to do. I like either NumPy or PNG. For semantic segmentation, that's not a bad way to start. So let us go ahead and let's see if I go to my downloads, this should be the latest one right there. And let's get these images into our PNG right there. Okay, so there you go. So we have our labels, and when I open them, you should see this is the house that we painted, and this is the roads, and this is I think the water, right? So these are the labels that we have right now. So you may have multiple. In fact, let's go ahead and let's do something. Let's go ahead and open another image because I want to see how this, and let's just do a couple of annotations. So for water, let's just do that is water. Yeah, and that is water. I think we are done with water for now. Submit, and let's take one more. Let's just take a road and let's do that. Okay, that's our road. Let's not do yeah, why not? Let's just do a few houses right here, and let's do houses. That's one. Oh, that's a big house. That's another. That's house. That's a house. Okay, I'm done. Update. And now let's go back to our labels. Export as PNG. It downloads everything into a zip file, so you don't have to worry about handling all those thousands of individual ones. So let's delete the ones that we imported from before, and let us no, not that one, sorry. Which one? This yeah, there you go. Labels as PNG. Let's delete the ones that we had before, and let's go ahead and get these ones. So now you get the idea. So there is task 9 annotation, and you see how it says houses, and task 9 annotation roads, task 9 annotation water, and then for the next one, task 10 annotation houses, roads, and water. So our goal is to go ahead and collect all the ones that actually says houses, all the ones for roads, all the ones for water, and then stack them into individual NumPy arrays. By the way, you can download, let's go ahead and do that. You can download NumPy right there and go ahead and export pretty much the same. Instead of .png, it will be .numpy. So since we started the process, let's go ahead and finish it off. So that would be, I think it's the latest one right here. And let us go back to our NumPy. Let's delete the ones from before and add these ones right there. So these are all our NumPy arrays. So basically the same information. You don't have to do both. Pick one, whatever, it doesn't matter. And this is PNGs, that's it. And both are all identical, so there's no reason for me to suggest you to do one over the other. Okay, so far what did we do? We just annotated on Label Studio and downloaded PNG and also NumPy. Now let's see how we can kind of open them in Python and then see if there are any issues with this. And I'm talking about that because there will be issues. So let's go down, and I'm going to import our standard libraries that we normally do. Nothing tricky there. And I am importing. So let's actually, let me move this a bit to the right. These images were from yesterday when I was trying to compose this, come up with this code. But let's copy one of these images. For example, let's copy this one. The name, opening a test image. Yeah, so we can study how that looks like. And also NumPy. Let's open pretty much the same NumPy array. The second one, was it second one? Task 9, annotation 6, rows 0. Yeah, that one. Okay. Sorry if some of these are a bit boring, but very necessary. Okay, so let's go ahead and import the image, and I am using scikit-image.io to read this image, and there you go. That's I already have it. So if you don't believe me, let's go ahead and plot so you can see how that image looks like. There you go. Yeah, so that looks obviously pretty much the same as this image right there. Yeah. So that's the image that that's the mask. Now, what's the problem with that? Well, if let's go ahead and print the unique values. You know how to do that in NumPy. np.unique gives us all the unique values in this image. We should only have 0 and 255 or 0 and 1, however they saved this. And if we print this unique, it's going to print a whole bunch of values. That means it has like 0, 1, 2, 3, a whole bunch of values. And this is exactly because of the screen I showed you earlier as part of my presentation. When you zoom into one of these areas, the edges are interpolated. So you have like all kinds of values. This is not how it should be. We need to convert that into binary. And initially when I started with that, that obviously irritated me. So I downloaded the NumPy arrays, because usually when you download NumPy arrays, it's downloaded as is, but apparently not the case. When I open this NumPy array, let's go ahead and do that and show the array. You see, this is the image from NumPy array. And when you print unique values, let's go ahead and print unique values. It's still showing me pretty much the same thing. So that means the problem exists with both the images and NumPy. I don't know how Labelbox does it, but with Label Studio, this is what I figured out. Okay, so how do we handle that? So all we need to do is take your mask image and then say any pixel value above 0, just convert that to 255 or convert that to 1. In this case, I assigned it a value of 1 because if you want to combine all these masks into a single mask, for example, roads having a value of 1, houses having a value of 2, and water having a value of pixel value of 3, then this is a good idea. But if you are keeping them separate, then it's customary to change the pixel value, or it's customary to have a binary image where background is 0 and your actual objects have a value of 255. It's up to you. It depends on how you have written your rest of the code. But all I'm trying to do here is any value that's above 0, I'm just converting that into 255. That's into a value of 1. That's pretty much it. So when I do that, and when you look at your unique values, let's uncomment this. And when you look at your unique values, obviously you should see only 0 and 1. This is how it should have been right from the beginning. But we are just doing an extra thresholding here to convert our image into binary. That's all. Okay. And let's go ahead and look at the mask. It should look pretty much the same. In fact, this looks brighter. You see, if I go back to the previous one, this one, especially if you focus in this region right there, you can tell the difference. Okay, so now I have a true binary image. That's it. This is how you go ahead and work with your labels. And here I just wrote a few lines to go through each in case you need help with coding this part of the coding. I'm pretty sure this is basic. Most of you know this. So all I'm trying to do is label as PNG. I'm going through this folder, label as PNG, and going through every image and seeing if houses is in the text for my label file name. If roads is in my file name. If so, do something. So what I'm trying to do is if houses is in the file name, go ahead and load the image and convert that into binary like I just mentioned, and append it to my masks list. So I have all the images captured as part of in a list, and then I can convert them into NumPy and then load them into the rest of my workflow that I'll do with when it comes to machine learning. And in this example, I assigned houses a pixel value of 1, I assigned roads a pixel value of 2, and water a pixel value of 3. You can handle them as 255, 255. Again, it completely depends on how you have written the rest of your deep learning code. So when I run all of these, I should end up with what? The 3 lists: house masks, road masks, and water masks. So if I go to houses masks, I have 2 because we have 2 annotations right there. So they are the 2, and pretty much the same for all of these images. Yeah. And from this point on, it's up to you how you would like to proceed. Okay, so thank you guys very much for your attention. If you like these type of videos, please leave comments on my videos. And I'm doing this, like I mentioned already, I'm doing this because you asked me for this. And both via emails and via comments as part of the YouTube videos that I upload. And unfortunately, I cannot respond to every email because I get like a few tens and sometimes like 100 emails per day. There's no way I can respond to every one of those. But I do get a theme of what the questions are being asked, and I try to do these type of videos for you. So thank you very much. And if you feel extra generous, hit that button that says you can donate. You can and it's for a great cause. It keeps all these videos free, and all the donations and everything I get, I'm going to give it to charity anyway. So please support. If you don't want to give it to me, support other charities that you really like to support. Thank you guys. Please hit the subscribe button.